China hits Taiwan with another fruit ban. China claims it has nothing to do with politics. Sure it doesn't. But Taiwan threatens to bring it to the World Trade Organization. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. China-Taiwan tensions have been ignited once again. And once again, it's about fruit and so much more. Last week, China announced it was going to reject Taiwanese imports of wax apples and sugar apples. Adding to the confusion, neither of these fruits are actually apples. For those of you unfamiliar with tropical fruit, this is a wax apple. That's just the name. It's not actually made of wax or apple. And this is a sugar apple, also known as a sweet sop. It's similar to a custard apple and a cherry moya. If you have a chance to go to Taiwan before China invades, eat the fruit. Taiwanese fruit is delicious. I would go to Taiwan for the fruit alone. But according to the Chinese government's new arbitrary policy, Taiwanese fruit is also dangerous. The General Administration of Customs in China said in a notice that Planococcus minor, a bug that feeds on a wide variety of agricultural crops and plants, has been found on sugar and wax apples from Taiwan on multiple occasions this year. According to Taiwan's Council of Agriculture, last year more than 95% of Taiwan's exports of wax apples and sugar apples went to mainland China. This fruit ban is a huge blow to Taiwanese farmers. It's also a huge blow to Chinese consumers, but apparently the Chinese regime doesn't care about them either. This wax apple and sugar apple ban isn't even the first fruit ban this year. Back in February, China banned imports of Taiwanese pineapples. I did an episode on how the Taiwanese people responded to the ban by buying massive amounts of pineapple. Since then, Taiwan's pineapple exports have increased by 566%. That's according to Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen's post on Facebook in response to this second wave of fruit bans. President Tsai wrote that regarding China's suspension of importing sugar apples and wax apples from Taiwan without warning, we believe that China's practice has violated international trade regulations. In addition to solemn condemnation, we will support all response measures from the Council of Agriculture, who are sure to protect agriculture and support farmers. After the pineapple ban, President Tsai implemented a $36 million stimulus package to support Taiwan's pineapple industry. This time around, Taiwan's Agriculture Minister Chen Ji-zhong proposed another subsidy of the same size to promote the sales of wax apples and sugar apples in Taiwan's domestic and overseas markets. Can we get some of those here in New York? Thanks. Chen says China hasn't given any scientific evidence for the so-called bug infestation. For example, China didn't even provide batch numbers or shipment numbers, which is what normally countries do to resolve an infestation. Still, my favorite Chinese state-run media, the Global Times, claims that this fruit ban has nothing to do with politics. While the ban, which comes days after U.S. media reported that U.S. officials were considering changing the name of the Taiwan mission in Washington to Taiwan Representative Office, may easily trigger speculation as to whether it's an economic warning, it is actually a normal biosafety precaution measure. Yes, it's just a normal biosafety precaution measure, which has been implemented without any of the normal biosafety procedures. And it's merely a coincidence that it happens to come after the U.S. was considering a name change that would give more recognition to Taiwan. And it's also a coincidence that China had literally just threatened to step up pressure on Taiwan because of the proposed name change. Of course, the Global Times also claimed the pineapple ban earlier this year was scientific and even-handed. The Global Times is definitely a good judge of scientific even-handedness. But what seems like a simple fracas over fruit is actually much more than that. You really need to peel back the layers and see what's inside. More after the break. Welcome back. China claims its trade ban on Taiwanese wax apples and sugar apples is totally not for political reasons, like its other trade decisions that are totally not political, like how China recently cut off trade with Lithuania for establishing relations with Taiwan. Many Chinese netizens are doubling down on the not political argument by saying Taiwan is making a fuss just to slam China. They ask why Taiwan didn't file a dispute with the World Trade Organization after New Zealand's temporary ban back in June. New Zealand had temporarily stopped imports of Taiwanese lychee and mangoes after citing fruit flies. The answer is, Taiwan didn't need to. New Zealand and Taiwan consulted and discussed risk management measures after the incident to seek solutions, while China has yet to respond to Taiwan's requests. Another case was between the U.S. and Taiwan in 2004, when apple imports from America to Taiwan were detected to have moth larvae. Taiwan provided information on the batch and shipment number of apple imports, the time and place of pest discovery, the exact specimens of the moths, molecular biological data, and other supporting documents. The United States also provided advanced quarantine management measures, which were confirmed by both parties. Later, the import of American apples was resumed. So Taiwan has a history of respecting international trade agreements, and they follow the right procedure, which is to identify the specific pest issue and take cooperative steps to mitigate it. Whereas China, on the other hand, implements a ban supposedly because of pests, but takes no steps to actually address the pest issue. That's why Taiwan is condemning China's behavior and is threatening to dispute the ban through the World Trade Organization. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu said that if China does not respond to Taiwan's request for a resolution under the current bilateral framework by September 30th, Taiwan will take the issue to the World Trade Organization for dispute resolution. But still, China's state-run Global Times insists that the mainland's decision is based on a simple fact, that the two kinds of subtropical fruit produced on the island are repeatedly found to contain dangerous pests, and that's it. See, it's not political, at least until you get to paragraph 6, which admits that if the mainland's ties with Taiwan are good enough, many mainlanders would not think it's a big deal if the mainland buys some of Taiwan's fruits that may contain pests. But now, since the secessionist DPP authority wants to act as Washington's lapdog, there's no reason for the mainland to buy the island's contaminated fruit. So they're saying the ban isn't political, but the reason they're not ending the ban is political. Got it. I think the World Trade Organization might want to have a look at that. In the meantime, Taiwan may not even need the Chinese market for its sugar apples and wax apples, because Switzerland is planning to import Taiwanese wax apples to counteract China's pressure, which is a good sign for deepening Swiss-Taiwan relations. And Japanese consumers are eager to buy up the Taiwanese fruit. I am also eager to buy up the Taiwanese fruit. Let's get moving on that U.S.-Taiwan free trade deal. And now it's time for me to answer a question from you, a fan who supports us on the crowdfunding websites Patreon or Locals. Pineapple Farmer asks on Locals, how effective do you think the new pact between Australia, the UK, and the US will be at combating the CCP and their agenda? Good question, Pineapple Farm. The most effective thing Western governments can do to combat the Chinese Communist Party and their agenda is to stand up rather than giving in. If the US, UK, and Australia show they're preparing to fight back should the Chinese regime launch a military attack, then that actually reduces the chance of a Chinese military attack. The Chinese Communist Party has the world's largest standing army, with more than 2 million soldiers. They may look scary, but very few of them are combat veterans, since China hasn't been to a war in a long time. China has lots of missiles and Navy ships, but they're untested in actual fighting. So a strong military deterrent from the US, UK, and Australia goes a long way to convincing the CCP it's not worth testing their military. The first part of the AUKUS deal only involves helping Australia build nuclear-powered submarines. But it goes to show that these three governments, despite very different internal politics, will come together to counter China. Thanks for your question, Pineapple Farm. And now I have a question for you. Are you a Taiwanese pineapple farm? Thanks for your support. And thank you to everyone else who supports China Uncensored through the crowdfunding platform Patreon and the subscription platform Locals. The links to both of those are below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.